Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Grab yourself a cup of tea and let's talk some boxing. Now there has been a lot of back and forth between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. It seems like Anthony Joshua has just snapped and he's not going to play Mr. Nice Guy in this situation because he wanted to be having Undisputed with Tyson Fury. But that doesn't seem to be possible anymore. Now in addition to this, the WBO have set Anthony Joshua's team a 48-hour deadline to show them that the Tyson Fury fight can still happen, or they will order him to defend against a mandatory challenger, Alexander Usyk. So they are really up against the clock, and I'm going to say at this point, Undisputed ain't happening. It's not going to happen. Tyson Fury has no intention, or Bob Arum, of giving Wilder step-aside money. The only way that that could happen is if someone else came in and gave him step-aside money, like say Saudi or something like that, and it's not their obligation to do it. So in that case, the fight is not going to happen. I mean, Fury seems at this stage like he's not really that bothered. He wants to fight Deontay Wilder. He seems quite happy to get back in there. I know that he kind of has to make lemonade here, but the thing is, it just doesn't seem like it's bothering him. It seems like he almost knew he was going to be fighting Deontay Wilder. And Bob Arum as well. I mean, why would they set aside a date in July if they were 100% certain they were going to be doing Undisputed? Didn't seem that way. Now, Anthony Joshua put this on his Snapchat story. I'm thinking about starting a GoFundMe page to raise money for Wilder's step-aside payment, 20 million, so I can smoke that fat guy with skinny legs from Manchester. These heavyweights need a podcast or something, cause they do more talking than fighting. So that kind of started proceedings with a back and forth with Tyson Fury. He also put on his Twitter page, this is what he wrote. At Tyson Fury, the world now sees you for the fraud you are. You've let boxing down. You lied to the fans and led them on. Used my name for clout, not a fight. Bring me any championship fighter who can handle their business correctly. So that kind of got proceedings underway on the Twitter bout, kind of back and forth between AJ and Fury. And AJ clearly is not happy about this because normally he wouldn't say too much, and he's not really interested in hyping things up or trash talk or anything like that. But in this situation, I guess he felt the need to go to Twitter and explain and express his displeasure with Tyson Fury. And you can understand it. After all the work that they have put in, Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua's team in securing the site deal and making sure they can get the step aside from Alexander Usyk, they're mandatory, only for the arbitration between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder to be the problem and the thing that stops this fight from happening. Now, Tyson Fury fired straight back at Anthony Joshua. You're more full of shit than Eddie Hearn, spouting absolute shite. Your full team knew there was an arbitration going on. It was out of my hands, but I tell you, if I'm a fraud, let's go this weekend, bare knuckles till one man quits. Let's put up 20 mil each. So there we go, Tyson Fury offered him a fight this weekend, so they don't even have to wait if they don't want to. Well, that's not going to happen, is it? Because we know that fighters say stuff like that all the time, but there are certain situations that would stop them from doing something like that. So that's not going to happen, but it is just a back and forth between these two. Now, AJ did come straight back again. I mean, how many times did this happen? And they did have quite a good spat on Twitter, and in light of what has happened, AJ is pretty displeased with Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury seems like he's just moved on, really. That just seems what it is with Tyson Fury. He's not all that bothered about Undisputed at the moment. He seems to be more bothered with the Wilder fight, which is good in one way, I guess, because that's who he's fighting next. He cannot be focused on Undisputed, but it's not good in one way because you have to wonder what was his intentions. Were they ever to do Undisputed, or did he kind of know that the Wilder fight was always going to happen? Now, AJ responded to those comments by saying this: if there was arbitration going on, why announce the fight to the world? The fight was signed, Undisputed. Bare knuckle? You're a good kid. Don't play with me, Luke. I'll slap your bald head, and you'll do nothing. Waste man. So, kind of like a Dillian White style response, because Dillian White does call Tyson Fury Luke all the time, because he says that that is actually Tyson Fury's name, and he only changed it to Tyson to sound more like a tough guy and to align himself with Mike Tyson. His middle name is apparently actually Tyson, so it's Luke Tyson Fury, not Tyson Luke Fury. So that's interesting that Anthony Joshua has picked up on that, and he's also called him a waste man. So he doesn't believe that Tyson Fury is worth his salt. Tyson Fury came straight back. Not going into the details online, you'll slap me about, will you, Dosser? Please come and try, bum. I'm waiting. Femi aka Bottle Job, 24/7, 365, ready. I'll smoke Wilder first, then you will get yours as well. Now, Anthony Joshua did respond to that as well, and this is the last one, I promise, because we've kind of been going back and forth and back and forth. But yeah, this is the last one. AJ just simply put, "You're not about that bare knuckle life. A barrier held you back, not even a bouncer." And there is a video of him at the event of Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders when Tom Saunders tried to rush to the corner of his son, and he was kind of mobbed by security. And Tyson Fury did not jump in and help. He did kind of reach over the barrier and try and grab someone, but he stayed behind the barrier and didn't get involved. Like other members of Team Saunders did, they jumped over and they tried to help the situation or kind of just get involved in some way to try and break it up. I don't know what they were trying to do, but it was certainly a big ruckus, and Tyson Fury stayed on the outside and did not get involved. What AJ is saying is that he bottled it. Even Dillian Whyte said that he bottled it. He didn't want to jump in and get involved. He wanted to stay on the safe side of the barrier, and no one had to hold him back. He held himself back, and therefore what AJ is saying is he's not about that bare knuckle life, because if he was, then he would have gotten involved in that situation. So, a lot of back and forth between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and I have to say, I'm quite annoyed that this fight is not happening given how far they came. I mean, there are some of you in the comments who said the fight was never going to happen, and boy were you right. I mean, at this stage, I don't even see them making it in November, December, because after they both have their respected fights, and after, hopefully, they both come through, I mean, there's no guarantees, are we going to really believe it and buy into it if they say, right, let's make Undisputed, let's sit down and get this fight done? We're just going to go, yeah, alright, go and give it a try then. We're not bothered. We're not going to believe it because they came this far and jumped through this many hoops only to be caught up with the Wilder arbitration situation, and that was down to Tyson Fury's team. They were the ones who should have known that there could be a chance that Wilder could win it. They assured Eddie Hearn and his team and Anthony Joshua's team that that wouldn't happen. Yet, look at the situation we are currently in. I do believe that there was some part of Tyson Fury, some part of Tyson Fury's team that did believe they were going to be fighting Deontay Wilder, because a couple of weeks ago, maybe even just a week ago, they did reserve July 24th, or at least a date in July that we heard about for Tyson Fury, and that was kind of like a contingency plan. That was also when things seemed to be going quite well with Undisputed, with a site offer coming in, and Frank Warren, Bob Arum all being on the same page, that they were reviewing this site offer to make sure that they could stage this fight. Even in light of that, they were still looking at a contingency plan. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that they almost knew that Wilder was going to get that kind of ruling? Did they hope that they could pay him some step-aside money and keep the date in place just in case? Well, if we cannot say that Tyson Fury and his team were 100% believing that they were going to win that and go into Undisputed, then you would hope that we could say they were kind of putting that date out there just in case, and then with the plan of paying step-aside money. But given what they have said, they will not pay Wilder step-aside. They didn't even plan on doing that. Meaning, when they say next that they're going to make Undisputed, we're not going to believe one thing that they say. We're not going to believe it. Why would we after what has happened this time around? I mean, they said they were so close to announcing this fight. It was going to be announced within a couple of days. I mean, everything was agreed. Tyson Fury announced that he would be fighting Anthony Joshua next. Then literally a couple of hours later, he's fighting Deontay Wilder. It will be interesting to see how quickly they get that fight made. That will be interesting as well. Considering it took them 5 months or more to get the AJ fight on, I believe that they did not announce it and have it 100% done because they knew about this arbitration situation and they were not 100% confident that they could win it. And that is the reason for it being this drawn out. That is the reason for them constantly saying, the fight won't happen, there's this situation, there's that situation. And they had to wait for this ruling. I mean, in some ways, that's the situation they were in. They could not 100% commit to an AJ fight because they did not know and were not confident of winning the arbitration. And then they would be free to go and fight AJ in that situation. But they did not believe 100% that that could happen. So that was why it was so drawn out. Also, that is why Anthony Joshua has kind of snapped and just gone to social media to vent his displeasure with Tyson Fury. And I'm just thinking about how many things I've said in this video about AJ said this and Tyson Fury said this, and how many Twitter statuses I'm going to have to link in the source below. That will be in the description below. I might just send you to AJ's Twitter page or Tyson Fury's Twitter page, and it will have all of it there if you want to go and read through it yourselves. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.